Hi everyone, my name is Shauna in case you don't know, and welcome back to another video. So I am active on Twitter. I use Twitter way too much, do too much doom scrolling, and a few days ago when I was doing my daily doom scrolling, I noticed that there was a lot of aphobia happening on Twitter. Aphobia is people who are being hateful towards people who are asexual or aromantic, so it's like homophobia but for asexuality. I feel very passionate about asexuality, and when I saw that happening, I got really frustrated and fed up. I felt so powerless and I didn't know what to do. I think this is going to be the first time that I'm explicitly saying it on camera, but I'm asexual. I do have romantic attractions, but I do not feel sexual attraction, which makes me asexual. So as you can see, I'm passionate about this for a reason. Since I was seeing these comments in the bookish community, I was thinking that a way to fight this aphobia is by giving all of you asexual book recommendations. So I want to be 100% clear that some of these books, the characters are either asexual or demisexual. But a lot of the times when characters are asexual in books, they're going on somewhat of a discovery, trying to figure out who they are. Sometimes they experiment, and sometimes they have sex with people because they feel that that's important to keep the close bond with the person in the relationship. So asexuality does not mean you abstain from sex. It doesn't mean that you don't enjoy it. It just means that you literally don't feel sexual attraction towards people. So some of these book recommendations will have some steamy scenes, just letting you know, and some of these characters are on the asexual spectrum, which means that they may be demisexual, they may be gray asexual, or they may be asexual. Demisexual means that you don't feel sexual attraction to a person until you have developed like a deeper emotional connection to them first. So what demisexual would look like is if, say, you started dating someone and you start to be really invested and in love with them, then the sexual attraction may pop up. So with these books, most of them will be asexual representation, but there may be some demisexual representation. There's 4 books that I'm going to be recommending, and then I'm going to have 2 recommendations of ones that I haven't read but that consistently get recommended to me. So let's start off with the one that I most recently read that has asexual representation, and this is The Charm Offensive by Alice Cochrane. So to be clear, this book has some very, very steamy scenes in it. I do want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. However, there is asexual representation in here. This is a gay rom-com with 2 perspectives in which Charlie and Dev are on the show. Dev works behind the scenes and Charlie is the main person up front that's supposed to find his princess. However, some romance blooms and it does not go the way that it is supposed to go for the show. So one of the 2 main characters, and I won't spoil which, is asexual, or on the asexual spectrum they may be demisexual. I thought that some of the conversations about sexuality and romantic attraction in here were done really, really well. So this is my first recommendation for books with asexual representation. It is such a sweet book, but so steamy, so definitely be aware of that, but I highly recommend this one. Next up is the book that helps me accept myself as asexual, and that is Found a Night by Ben Alderson. This is the 2nd book in a series, so you have to pick up Cloaked in Shadow, which is the 1st book, in order to understand this book. There is a character in this book who is very powerful, and she has girl boss vibes, but she's also asexual, and there's this passage in this book, I don't know if I'll be able to find it just by flipping through it. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to find the quote, but I was sobbing, and I had to take a break from the book for a few days because I was I feel so seen, I feel so understood, I feel like I can finally just say I'm asexual, and this is the book that drastically changed my life for the better. It is not a main character who's asexual, it's a side character, but she is so extremely powerful and she has romantic attractions too. So I highly recommend this one if you're looking for asexual representation. Of course there's other representation in this book, there's gay characters and lesbian characters and everything, but the asexual representation is what makes this book more than just a favorite book for me and a book that changed my life. So the next book that I'll be recommending is one that I don't have with me physically, which both of them that I'll be recommending next I don't have with me physically. This one is Darling by Kay Ankrum. Darling is a Peter Pan retelling that's a thriller. I've talked about it a ton on my channel because I'm so obsessed with the book. However, there's a character who is asexual in that book. And something that I absolutely love about the character is that he's still flirty and fun and romantic, but he's also asexual. And I love that because it's you don't have to give up the romantic side, the fun side of dating and romance when you're asexual. You can still have that fun side of romance and flirting, and that book really showed that. And I thought that that was really cool and a great way to incorporate asexual representation in there. It wasn't overpowering and he wasn't a main character, but it still definitely made an impact on me, and I highly recommend Darling. There's other representation in the book as well too, and it's very much a thriller, so like keep that in mind. I wasn't expecting it to be as much of a thriller as it was, but I still really enjoyed it, and I don't really like thrillers. It just really caught me off guard and I was amazed by it. So the final book that I'll be recommending that I have read that has asexual representation is Human Enough by ESU. Human Enough is a gay vampire romance, and the main character's love interest is asexual, and I just thought that it was like beautifully well done how it was. There is some steamy scenes in this book, so be warned. I don't know why so many books with asexual representation that I've read have steamy scenes. It's just the way that it turned out, and I mean, I'm not super comfortable reading steamy scenes, but it's given me like a different perspective to see an asexual person like engaging in that. So that's helped me get a little more comfortable reading steamy scenes, although I wouldn't say I necessarily enjoy it. Human Enough is a fantastic book, and the asexual character is a vampire, and I love vampires, so Human Enough was a lot of fun to read. So the final two books that I'll be mentioning are books that consistently keep getting recommended to me every time that I tell people I'm asexual, which is a good thing, and it has added them higher onto my TBR, so I will be picking them up soon. However, I'm asexual and I can't confirm whether the representation is good or not in these books. I've just heard that a lot of people like these books for the asexual representation. And I believe that these characters are aromantic asexual in these books, but I may be wrong. So the first one is a sequel to the book The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee, and this is The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy. So technically, yes, the first book has the character that is asexual, but I think her identity doesn't get explored until the second book. So I've read the first book and I thought the first book was a 3-star read, but I'm going to be giving the second book a shot because I've heard that it has asexual representation and I've heard that it is absolutely wonderful. This series is called the Montague Siblings series, and it has LGBTQ+ representation in each book, and there's like adventure and fantasy and historical elements. So it's like a mesh of like a bunch of different genres. And then the next book that everyone always recommends to me is Loveless by Alice Oseman. I love Alice Oseman's work, so I will definitely be picking up Loveless at some point in the future. Loveless apparently has really good representation in it. I have heard a couple mixed reviews on this one, but I did want to include it in this video. I have heard a few people say that this is more a book to teach about asexuality as opposed to someone who's asexual reading it to feel like validated and happy reading it. I am going to be reading it. I will tell all of you what I think about it after I read it, but that's the one that people recommend to me the most. So these were all of my book recommendations for books with asexual characters. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, if you're asexual, you're 100% valid. Ignore the aphobic idiots that are on the internet. And if you ever want to talk about your asexuality, feel free to come talk to me. I am 100% supportive because I'm asexual, and I'm always happy to talk about my experience with being asexual. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't already. All of my other social media will be linked down in the description below, including my Bookstagram, Goodreads, all of that jazz. I upload videos 3 times a week, so I hope that I will see you here this Friday for my next video. Until next time, goodbye!